The New York Knickerbockers have played 41 games.
Yep.
Mid-season report card on the New York Knicks. First half recap. We'll go through it all. Alex Monaco, talk to me. I'll give it to you right away.
Yeah.
They top 4, top 3 in the East, depending on the day. One of the best teams in the league.
Yep.
By record.
Futures board reflects it as well.
What do you think about the Knicks so far through 41? And then give me your grade.
I think they've been unbelievable. And they've had just the weight of the world pick up any borough as far as pressure. The thing is, we've been here for a few years at the network. A lot of momentum. Shout out Randall from a few years back, beating the Hawks in the first round. And then just a slow brick by brick, series by series last year, second round exit, game 7. To get to this spot where you're top 5 coming into the season on the futures board to win it all, top 2 in the East. That's so much pressure for a team in a number 1 media market, and you reshuffle the deck. I got to give them an A- here. I was thinking about a B+. Sean, they're top 10 in offense. They're top 10 in defense. They're 5th in overall point differential, which is incredible. And the defense has gotten better. We know we were hard on them out the top. You got OG, you got Bridges. You think you got true two-way forwards. Wasn't maybe playing out the gate how we wanted. Now that we're halfway through the season, I mean, you're 3rd in offensive rating and you're 9th in points allowed. Still top 5 in rebound percentage. I could keep going here statistically, but to reshuffle the deck, just, you know how it goes. It's time. Takes time in the NFL, takes time in the NBA.
Yeah. To
come out still be, as we see on the Juice Bar ratings, top 3 in the East. You got to give them an A-. What say you?
An A- is too high for me. I'm going to be a little harsh because I just want to hold them to a high standard.
Fair.
I think that's what we're talking about. When you hear people's takes and where teams should be and how midseason reports for teams across the board,
yeah,
it typically comes down to what standard and where you had them coming into the year. So I'm going to be a little harsh here. I'm going to give them a B. I was digging into the numbers quite a bit last night, early this morning, and I was like really getting into them. And I was starting to formulate where I'm at with the Knicks and my concerns.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going to give them a B. They've had the easiest schedule in the entire NBA to date. The New York Knicks. The production that's coming from Karl Anthony Towns is at peak levels. It's not going to get any better than this.
Yeah.
He's averaging 25 points a game, leads the NBA in rebounding.
Career high in boards.
55. These are the splits. 55% from the floor, 45% from 3, and essentially like 85+ from the free throw line.
Remarkable.
This is the peak offensive. If you would have told me you would get that production from Karl Anthony Towns, you would be elated.
Well said.
Go over to Jalen Brunson. Offense, he can still get it when he needs to. Bucket getter, can man.
Yeah.
Anybody can get it. Distribution, assists, highest they've ever been in his career. He's pushing 8 assists a game.
Yeah.
Gets Karl Anthony Towns involved. I love that. Jalen Brunson, still one of those guys for me. 50 ball when you need it. He had 55. He'll drop 40. We've seen it when he needs to go into that mode. He can still do that. That's what he does.
Oh, yeah, without question.
Josh Hart, my favorite player in the NBA, continues to produce unbelievable numbers for a role player. If you could go in a lab and create a role player, Josh Hart comes out as is. He's a video game role player. He is the best pound-for-pound rebounder in the NBA.
Oh, without question.
Him picking up 12, 13 rebounds a night, the way he does is sensational. Offensively, you watch the Knicks just like me. A lot of the times when he's trying to score, he's getting grenades. Shot clock's running out.
Yeah.
He has to either put up a jumper. Does he get open looks because the defense doesn't really respect his perimeter game? Sure. But going to the basket, he's efficient. He knocks down enough shots. He's been unbelievable.
How many times have we seen him board and then dish to someone in transition
board and
for
just
a bucket?
push a transition and lay it up for an and one.
Yep.
Like, he's been awesome. Go to campaign. Like him or not, he's shooting 4 attempts from 3 a game. He's shooting 40%. He's been one of the more consistent guys off the bench for the Knicks.
I'm waiting for where this B's going. It sounds like an A card.
Well, that leaves us 2 guys. OG Anunoby is the highest paid player on the roster. first 20 games of the year was very good offensively. He slowed down a little bit on the back half offensively. And if you're going to slow up on the back half offensively, because to be honest, his role on this team is not necessarily to be a guy that's scoring 22, 23 points a game.
Right.
He has to be a lockdown defender. That's been up and down. We haven't gotten the consistency and the production for me from OG. And Mikal Bridges, this is kind of the same way. He's the third option offensively. He's supposed to be the guy that you give it to him and off the dribble can create, get to the rack, do his thing. I just haven't seen that from him consistently. When he gets hot, he's hot. But there's a couple. He cooked Detroit. He had 27 on Monday. 2 games prior, he was an absolute ghost. So I just want to see more consistency from OG and Mikal Bridges. And these are just concerns overall I have from when now the season's about to start getting tough. You're about to start playing the Celtics. You're about to start playing some of the best teams in the NBA night in, night out. And we just saw it. Knicks played 3 games in 4 days.
Right.
And with all those minutes the starters are playing, it starts to get a little shaky. So
were you out?
They've been good.
Have you been? Would you give them?
I don't think they've been as consistent, but it's a fair point. The deck was reshuffled.
Yeah.
It needs to be shuffled back and set up with how they want to approach game in, game out, and some of these matchups. But overall, there's a real chance they see like the Magic in the first round, and then they have to play Cleveland after that. Like, this is a really, really tough stretch. I expected them to play a little bit better basketball more consistently against the better teams. That's why I'm going to give them a B, and I'm excited to see where it goes the next 6 weeks.
Let me ask you a pressing question here. Do you think they know who they are yet, halfway point through the season? We hate going back to last year.
We talked about identity, right?
But this year, yeah.
I mean, like last year, this is when they really got rolling. 14-2 in January.
That was the OG
comes into the fold. They were absolutely destroying people every single night. So are they consistent in that aspect? No. They absolutely – OG Anunoby hasn't missed a game.
Yeah, like my
They've been healthy, so like they still need to work through and kind of find out that consistent identity and what they're going to get. But I think part of that is we need to know what – I'm not worried about what we're going to get from Cat. I'm not worried about what we're going to get from Jalen Brunson. I'm not worried about what we're going to get from Cat. I don't know night to night what we're going to get from OG and Mikal, and I think that is where the identity and the consistency lies.
Is there anything – so we see him put up a season-high 140 on 58% shooting as a team against Milwaukee. You were doing pregame. We were both watching Sunday afternoon. And then quick turnover, bringing a young J.B. Bickerstaff playing above the rim. Pistons team, they're 8.5-point home favorites, and they get slept. Just going off a 140 to the next night, we've seen a lot of Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Typically kind of comes one game after the other. Back to the identity thing. You think if they had a better just idea who they are, do they win that Pistons game? Does last year's team, because they know their identity, who they need to lean on a back-to-back night where Cat and Brunson go ridiculous against the Bucks? And to your point, who's stepping up the next night if it's not them too?
Yeah, I mean, identity is a strong word, but like they're still working through that because obviously it's still a new roster. They've only played 40 plus together. I'm just really excited. The schedule was almost a blessing, as in, hey, you're going to get a lot of softer teams, some of the bottom teams in the NBA, where you can kind of build out how you want to play from a night to night. And now that grace period is over and you're going to see the best teams in the NBA.
One last thing for you. Are you more impressed with this team putting up 140 on a win against the Bucks or holding an Orlando team, no Franz, no Banchero, but just they were 3-0 against the spread, a healthier Magic team, holding a team like that to under 100? Is that a lot more impressive for this particular team than going bucket for bucket?
I mean, I would say them being able to score 140 points is way more impressive because there's truly 2 offensive alphas on the team, and then the rest of the guys offensively are just, they can score. Bridges can score, but he's not a big time scorer. So anytime they score 140 points, that's going to be more impressive for me.
Hot take. Anyone not in an NBA uniform you want to see get a little 10-day on this team?
No, I can't. No, yeah, not. We could throw out a bunch of
All right.
a bunch of different options of different guys around the league that I think will probably end up being
or playing overseas that
I would
are
love
in shape,
to be.
You know,
I would love Mitch to get healthy and then see how things look from there as well. Let's talk about the next 4 games.
Yeah,
because they're important. They're in Philly. Hop on the train, go down to Philly, play that game. Who knows if Embiid's going to play or not? They are the worst team against the spread at home in the NBA. Philly has been very, very disappointing.
Very.
We know the story there. But then Minnesota back at the Garden, Dante DiVincenzo in the house, Julius Randle in the house, then Atlanta, and then Brooklyn. How you think they finish up in those 4?
Gotta go 3-1 here. Gotta go 3-1. Establish dominance out the gate. Obviously, emotions high for the Dante Randle comeback. Set the spread at -220. They get a tribute on the Tron.
Hardenstein got a tribute the other night.
Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely will.
I'm really staring at that Atlanta game though. That's the imposer will. They're 0-2 against Atlanta. Drop names. No Jalen Johnson right now for about a week plus for the Hawks. Different team.
Trae Young's been playing unbelievable.
Yeah, but he's going from diamond to putting up 43 because when Jalen's not in the lineup, he has to do it all from a scoring perspective. So that's going to be interesting. Need to see them beat a team like the Hawks. We're looking at the East, Sean. You made some good points here, and looking at the Pacers starting to pick up steam. There's just
Halliburton's hurt. He's dealing with a hamstring now. That's big. But with how top heavy the East is, you're going to have multiple series in the playoffs where it could get very, very difficult. And Banchero's back. Franz Wagner's on his way back.
If you had to hypothesize 1, 2, 3, and it wraps up in April, what do you got?
I think it probably looks just like that, to be honest.
You think Cleveland gets home court?
Yes.
Wow. Is that just Boston not
Boston
taking
has 11 losses.
You think they're just bored? Is this that
Of
NBA
course.
boredom?
Coming off of a title, there was a point, I mentioned this last week, there was a point earlier this year, the preseason win total for the Celtics was 58.5. A month ago, you could have still gotten under 60.5. Wow. They're just not going to be that focused throughout the entire year to where they're going to win 63 games, in my opinion. Cavs are proving to themselves with a new coach that we actually do have something here. Like, can we actually push this? So they're in that mode where let's see how many regular season games we can win. Celtics are on that, man, we got the title. We got the best 5.
As far as against the
Let's see what
Knicks,
happens.
who's the second team to Boston that scares you in the East right now if the Knicks were to start a playoff series? Is it Cleveland?
To be honest, a lot of teams scare me. Cleveland scares me a ton. Boston scares me. Orlando scares me. Detroit has their stuff together.
Yeah, Bickerstaff.
A 7-game series against them would be rough. It's like
they're in the
East,
playoff, the play-in right now.
The East is tough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. A couple teams scare me quite a bit.
All right. That's our grades for the Knicks.
I'm going to go 3-1 as well, by the way. Next 4.
I like it.
They'll get up for a home game against Minnesota with Randall and those guys coming back. I expect that to be a highly competitive game. They should be able to take care of business.
Yeah.
Brooklyn's been struggling. So, yeah, 3-1 for me, but more consistency out of a guy that's making the most money on the team, and then a guy that was the final piece to the final piece. Cat's the final piece. Mikal was supposed to be the final piece to the final piece. And once that all comes together, which I'm confident it will, then they'll start to look like the special unit that we expect them to look like.
I'm with you.